The MC was surprised when someone offered him the position of leader of a merchant group. He found it illogical, as he was the eldest child and thus, the rightful heir. The person explained that the MC was more talented in this field and was the reason their group had become the largest. However, the MC stated that he disliked responsibility and preferred to lounge around. He argued that becoming a leader would entail attending dinners with business partners, enduring their nonsense, and taking responsibility for any mishaps, all of which he wanted to avoid. Hearing this, his older brother sided with him and agreed to his wishes. But then, in an instant, his brother's head was impaled on a stick, and everything around him burned. All that the MC and his family had built was being destroyed. His personal guards, his second brother, Mr. Jang of the Finance Pavilion, and Mr. Lim of the Breeze Pavilion, everyone he knew, lay dead before his eyes. The White Heaven Merchant Group leader was responsible for all of this. The leader expressed regret at having to kill the MC. The MC questioned whether this was permissible, given that they were under the Murim alliance and represented Orthodox Murim. The leader replied that the higher-ups had made this decision because the MC was obstructing their business, and thus, the MC should have stayed in his lane. The MC retorted, asking if they were doing this just for money. He accused them of losing due to their lack of skill and condemned them for their actions. Accumulating chi in his hand, he charged at the leader, but the alliance leader kicked him, sending him to the ground, coughing blood. The leader told the MC that he was too dangerous, which was why they were taking down the entire Eunhae merchant group. He bid the MC farewell and slit his throat. As he lay dying, the MC wondered if their lives held no meaning in the grand scheme of Murim. If he had begun learning martial arts at a young age, if the Eunhae merchant group had expanded further, perhaps they would not all have died today. Then, someone called out to him, and he opened his eyes. The person told the MC that while they knew his health wasn't good, sleeping on his first day of work was unacceptable. The MC couldn't believe he was still alive. His vision was blurry, making it difficult to see clearly. He thought it must be an illusion if he was still alive, and he tried to punch the person. The person dodged and hit him on the head with a stick. The MC realized it wasn't the alliance leader but Eunhae, the chief of internal affairs. The MC wondered if he wasn't dead, how could he be alive? He shouted, asking if he was in hell. The head of internal affairs told him that in his entire career of teaching, no one had ever tried to punch him, he was the first. He instructed the MC to return to his room and sit facing the wall. As he sat on the chair, the MC pondered. Wasn't this task given to him when he first started learning about business? So why was he in the office of the Chief of Internal Affairs? He called for his personal guard, Eunhae, who appeared. The MC asked him how old he was. Eunhae replied that yesterday had been his 15th birthday. The MC thought he was 39. Eunhae then reminded the MC that he had just tried to punch the chief and was now asking about his age. He asked if he should call a physician. The MC couldn't believe he had returned to his younger self. He slapped himself on the face. Eunhae asked what he was doing. The MC replied, "That hurts." Eunhae responded, "Of course, it will hurt." The MC then said, "But he is dead." He vividly remembered his family lying dead in front of him and the moment the White Heaven merchant group leader's sword went through his neck. He clutched his neck and wondered if he had truly gone back to the past. The massacre had really happened, and he couldn't let it happen again this time. Seeing his angry face, Eunhae asked him what was wrong and if he needed anything. The MC thought to himself that he could still recall the incident from his first life and knew how to overcome those situations. He would use that knowledge to become stronger so that they could stand against the Murim alliance. The MC again asked Eunhae if yesterday was really his 15th birthday. He replied yes and asked what was wrong with him today. After doing some calculations, the MC realized there was only 1 week remaining until an accident. He then asked his bodyguard that they needed to do something without anyone else knowing. That night, someone asked a black-hooded man if he was sure about it. The man replied that the youngest had to begin learning the business, and he also had a skilled bodyguard. The other man asked if he could really do this stealthily. The black-hooded man scoffed, asking why he would be scared of a child dying from a disease. He added that he had other plans for the guard and would simply kill all witnesses if anything happened. The other person questioned, didn't he serve them as his master? The black-hooded man stated that the youngest of the Eunhae merchant group was fated to die early, so wouldn't he be thankful if he cut short his suffering? At the snowy mountain, Eunhae asked the MC what they were doing there. The MC told her that as she knew, he was quite fragile. If they explored the area, they might come across something nice. Eunhae asked, something nice? Like what? The MC thought to himself, for example, the best miracle medicine in Zhongyuan. Eunhae urged the MC to escape, but he refused to go without her. She insisted that her duty was to protect him, and dying for him, as long as it wasn't in vain, would be enough. Still, the MC stood firm. She lamented that he had never listened to her since he was young and pleaded with him to listen to this one last time. Just then, soldiers with swords burst in. She told the MC to survive no matter what. Back in the present, the MC reflected that if he had to choose those he trusted most, it would be his guard, Eunhae, and his servant, Palgap. Therefore, they were the only two he could rely on to search for something specific. Eunhae asked what they were looking for. The MC showed her a tree bearing blue fruit, named the pure icy snow plum. Eunhae inquired about them. The MC explained that it was a miracle medicine that would cure his condition. She countered that they had plenty of miracle medicines at home. He told her those wouldn't work because he possessed a mysterious dragon god's physique, a unique physical condition where one is born with extremely strong yin energy. For women, this strong yin energy is naturally handled well, allowing them to become martial masters. However, for men, this yin energy collides with their yang energy, slowly killing them. The only way to overcome this is to consume a miracle medicine containing yin energy during adolescence to convert the boy's yang into yin. The MC had learned about this too late in his first life, and obtaining the pure icy snow plum had been impossible then. The MC then told Eunhae to retrieve the miraculous fruit. She promised to be quick, and both the MC and his servant cheered for her. The MC thought that while he couldn't surpass her in strength, he would become as strong as he could, so she wouldn't have to die for his sake in this life. A few days later, in the Eunhae merchant's household, some servants greeted the MC. Then Eunhae and Palgap arrived, and the MC greeted them. After the MC left, the servants discussed how different he seemed, much more energetic than before. One of them noted that he had grown taller, and another added that his face had also changed, becoming much more beautiful. Hearing this, Eunhae grew annoyed and told everyone to return to their work. She mused that the MC had recently taken the miracle medicine they'd retrieved from the mountain and had undergone body reconstruction, but he had told them not to tell anyone. She then asked Palgap how long the MC would keep it a secret. He replied that as long as he was healthy, that's what mattered. At the finance pavilion, a man was shocked by what the MC had accomplished in 2 hours. He was Yeo Chang-gue, the finance pavilion's 7th-ranked member. He exclaimed how the MC had done it in 2 hours when it usually took 2 days. The MC humbly replied that it wasn't that difficult, thinking to himself that he should pretend to be an amateur since he had done this type of work in his past life, which was why he finished it so quickly. Yeo Chang-gue then told the MC that the flow of finance in a merchant group was like blood in human veins. Hearing that, the MC asked if he thought he had finished it early because he did it hastily. Yeo Chang-gue retorted that he had finished quickly, plus, a few days ago, the MC had fallen asleep during work and even punched the chief of internal affairs. Hearing this, the MC proposed a bet. He would take those papers to the chief of internal affairs right then, and they would bet on whether he would pass them or not. Yeo Chang-gue asked what they would bet. The MC said the loser would have to take care of all the remaining documents, and on top of that, the loser would also have to perform the 02 dance during his eldest brother's announcement ceremony. Yeo Chang-gue agreed immediately. At the chief of internal affairs office, the chief was shocked and asked the MC if he had truly done this work. Yeo Chang-gue's face turned pale upon hearing this. He asked the chief to review it one more time because he never passed anyone's work in the finance pavilion in one go. Hearing that, the chief hit him on the head with a stick. The MC then told Yeo Chang-gue that he would be looking forward to his 02 dance and left the pavilion head's office. As the MC was happy about his victory, someone called him from behind and told him he looked like he was in a good mood. This person told the MC that all he did was make everyone worry about his health, and now he was happily jumping around. It was the MC's second elder brother, Eunhae. Seeing his face, the MC remembered his brother's severed head and emotionally called out to him. Hearing that, Yoon Jinho was furious. He told the MC to see why he was acting so friendly. The MC realized they were on bad terms at this time. Yoon Jinho told the MC that he was against him learning the business because everyone would worry if he got sick from work. He warned the MC not to go around showing off being sick when he saw their father. He threatened to kill him if he passed out like last time. The MC politely told him that he would be careful. Yoon Jinho told the MC that he didn't like him and slammed the door. The MC thought it was his first time seeing his father and his brother ever since he came back. This time, he wished to show them something truly nice. According to MC's past memory, a fire will break out at the finance pavilion in a few days. Because of that fire, a low-ranking pavilion official who was on duty at that time died. All the documents were burned to ash, resulting in a massive loss. However, that was meticulously planned by someone. To prevent that, MC needs the freedom to move as he pleases. At the Eunhae merchant group's main estate, at the dinner table, MC's eldest brother, Yoon Jeongo, asked Yoon Jinho how he was doing at the Sunset Pavilion. Yoon Jinho replied that it was easier for him because he didn't need to use his brain, he just needed to use his body. Then Yoon Jeongo asked MC if he also started practicing training at the finance pavilion. MC nodded, then Jeongo told MC that he didn't have to overdo it. MC reassured him and thought his older brother was always like this, that's why he never wanted to see that side of him in this life. Yoon Jinho told MC, "What do you do besides lying in bed and eating?" Yoon Jeongo told him to stop saying those things to his younger brother. Yoon Jinho told him that he always covered for MC, which is why MC didn't know his place. How long do we have to report to someone who does nothing but burden the household? Yoon Jeongo told him that he was going too far. Yoon Jinho replied that MC coughed up blood every month and walked around with a cane, what work could he do in the Eunhae merchant group? MC thought, even as an adult, hearing those words still stung. But this was his own problem, so he had to resolve it, and he told Yoon Jinho to stop because their father was coming. He also told his elder brother to calm down. Yoon Jeongo thought MC was always sharp, but today he felt strangely mature. Then someone announced that the head of the merchant group had arrived. Hearing that, MC got emotional. Seeing him arrive, everyone stood up to greet him. He asked MC why his face looked red and if he was sick. MC told him that it was nothing. MC thought the cause of his red face was seeing the image of his father dying in his past life, and that moment overlapped. Then his father asked MC if he wanted to say something. MC controlled himself and thought that was the past and that incident hadn't happened in this life, so he held himself back. He told his father that he actually had something to say. MC's father told him to sit down and they would talk later. MC told his father about the conversation they had before he started working at the finance pavilion. At that time, his father had told him that he didn't have to take responsibility. MC asked him if that was really okay because one day he would have to lead the pavilion members. His father asked him, "So what do you want to say?" MC told him that he wanted to take on duties like his elder brother and other pavilion members, including night shifts. But his father firmly denied it. Seeing that, Yoon Jinho laughed out loud. MC told his father, "Isn't it too harsh to be rejected?" His father told him that what couldn't be done simply couldn't be done. Especially night duty. It requires staying up all night and managing night security. But with your current condition, that's absolutely impossible. Everything else is fine, but not night duty. MC thought that wouldn't do. He told his father, "If I can prove that I'm physically capable of doing it, will you allow it?" His father told him, "Of course I will, but how are you going to prove that?" MC told him that he would spar with Yoon Jinho. Everyone was shocked after hearing that. Yoon Jinho asked MC if he was out of his mind. MC told him, "Are you afraid that I will win?" Yoon Jeongo asked MC what he was saying. MC told him that since both he and his father were worried about his health, if he could hold his own against Yoon Jinho, who recently became a first-class martial artist, that would prove that he was capable of doing all duties in the finance pavilion. Yoon Jinho also asked his father for permission for the spar. Yoon Jeongo tried to stop him, but his father gave him permission. He told MC that he also had to learn to take responsibility for his words. And everyone must face trial sooner or later, and he thought that it was time for MC's trial. MC wondered if his father really thought he had any chance of winning against his second brother. His father told him that since there was a massive power gap between them, if MC could endure for 1.5 minutes, he would give him permission to take all duties. MC thanked his father for the opportunity. His father told him, if it becomes dangerous, surrender right away, there is no shame in doing that. MC told him that he would keep that in mind, but he didn't think that would be necessary. At the Eunhae merchant group's training ground, Eunhae and Palgap stood there dumbfounded. Eunhae shouted, "How is MC on the sparring stage? Wasn't he barely able to stand not too long ago?" Palgap told Eunhae that MC would be fine. Eunhae asked his father if he wasn't worried about MC. His father asked him why he would be worried. Jeongo told his father, "Jinho has always openly looked down on MC, and I'm afraid that he might not hold back." His father told him to wait and see for now. Eunhae was deeply confused. She wondered why the main character, MC, and Jinho were having a duel in the first place. It seemed to her that MC wasn't even considering other people's perspectives, and she questioned whether he might be possessed. When MC's father told her to sound the drum, she hesitated at first but eventually did so, silently wishing for MC to win. Meanwhile, Jinho felt that as the youngest, MC didn't know his place. He thought MC had received too much love growing up, which led him to believe the world was beneath him. Jinho decided that, as the elder brother, he would teach MC the rules of the world. Their father had once observed that Jinho couldn't take his eyes off his younger brother. Jinho remembered how, as a child, he had reached out to touch MC and had been surprised at how small he was. At the time, their father had told Jinho that it was his responsibility, as the older brother, to take care of MC. As Jinho charged toward MC, he reflected on how their father had always expected him and his brother to act like good elder brothers. However, Jinho believed their father had overlooked how the youngest son acted as if he were the only one that mattered. Because of that, Jinho decided he couldn't play the role of the good brother any longer. When their swords clashed, MC used the 12th form of the Suno Dragon Sword technique, Traceless Step, to dodge. Jinho was shocked that MC managed to avoid the blow. The spectators were stunned by what they saw. MC then pretended to trip and fall, claiming he was lucky to have dodged the attack. Jinho thought to himself that MC must be joking. Lucky enough to dodge? He didn't believe it. He attacked more fiercely, but each time, MC avoided the strikes with the smallest effort. Eunhae couldn't understand how MC was managing to do it and asked aloud what was happening. Jinho's father recalled a moment when he had told Jinho never to take MC's words lightly. MC was a genius, the greatest in the history of the Eunhae merchant group. Even though he had said that, he still couldn't believe what he was witnessing. MC, who couldn't even keep his balance normally, was managing to hold his own against Jinho. The father now thought that with the right teacher, MC could reach extraordinary heights. But at this moment, he wasn't worried about MC, he was worried about Jinho. Jinho grew increasingly frustrated. He questioned why his attacks weren't landing and wondered if MC would now also take the title of greatest martial arts genius. He remembered when they were children and he had once coughed up blood while playing. He had been terrified. Their father had told him then that he can't teach him martial arts, but Jinho had still wanted to be taught. Instead, his father had explained that MC was sick and needed care. As the elder brother, Jinho had to make sacrifices for his younger sibling. Jinho also remembered the day he accidentally gave MC an elixir of young energy, hoping it would help him recover faster. But the result was MC falling seriously ill. When his father found out, he pushed Jinho away and never even looked at him. His attention was entirely on MC. At that moment, Jinho felt that all their problems stemmed from the fact that MC had been born weak. He questioned why he always had to be the one to sacrifice. During the duel, MC spoke to Jinho, saying that the family was complicated. Because of the closeness, deep-seated resentment could build up over a lifetime. Jinho coldly replied that he wasn't interested in such things. Eunhae asked Eunhae how much time remained, and she told him there were only 9 seconds left. As Jinho poured chi into his sword, he told MC that things might have been easy for him so far, but that was about to change. As Jinho dashed toward MC, he recalled his father telling him to set aside his feelings. But MC thought to himself that those words were meaningless. His father didn't understand anything. Jinho had written that truth in blood, family was indeed difficult. Because of the closeness, people nurtured deep grudges while living side by side, until they forgot why they were even angry to begin with. Jinho's hatred for MC wasn't rooted in malice. It was born from helplessness, guilt, and the alienation Jinho had felt because their family had always prioritized MC. Over time, all those emotions had evolved into resentment. Then he told MC that none of it had been MC's fault. He apologized for letting his feelings get the better of him and admitted that he had delayed this apology for a long time. He asked MC not to forgive him. MC, overwhelmed, thought that it wasn't fair to put all the blame on Jinho. They had all been immature. He dropped his sword and knelt to the ground, stunning everyone watching. Jinho couldn't believe MC had let go of his weapon. MC explained that while Jinho may have added sword chi to his final strike, it had felt just like the first one. MC told himself that while he couldn't forgive everything, he could let it go, with a single punch. The audience was completely dumbfounded as MC emerged victorious. Eunhae then announced that since the duel had gone on for 10 minutes without a decisive victory, the result was MC's win. At the finance pavilion, the chief was amused when he heard the news of MC's unexpected triumph. He thought to himself that he should recommend MC as his personal assistant, and have him work 24 hours a day. While Jinho was practicing swordsmanship, he found himself lost in thought, recalling the past incident when MC had been seriously ill. He remembered how terrified he had been at the time, and the words MC had spoken to him earlier echoed in his mind. Overwhelmed by frustration, he suddenly threw his sword aside. He muttered that he was pissed off. What frustrated him even more was that, alongside his anger, he also felt a sense of immense relief. Turning to his servant, he asked what MC was doing at that moment. The servant informed him that MC had been dragged away by the Chief of Internal Affairs. Jinho frowned and asked why MC had been taken away. At that moment, the Chief of Internal Affairs had cornered MC and questioned him, asking whether he had truly started taking on real duties. MC replied that, technically speaking, it was true and asked if there was a problem with that. Without further explanation, the chief and his assistant forcibly escorted MC away. The chief then informed MC that, starting today, he would serve as his assistant, an appointment that had already been approved by the head of the merchant group. MC couldn't believe what was happening. In his mind, he recalled that Yusoake, the chief of internal affairs, had been the very person responsible for his own death in his past life. He had died from overwork. Jo Young, Yusoake's assistant, told MC not to worry too much, reassuring him that he would come to enjoy the work just like she had. MC, clearly unconvinced, knocked her down and told Yusoake that he didn't think that would ever happen. Yusoake asked why. MC couldn't bring himself to say it was because of the finance pavilion fire incident. In his past life, the fire had occurred between 3 o'clock and 5 a.m., and to prevent it this time, he needed to be on overnight duty that day. However, if he got dragged into working under Yusoake, he wouldn't even be able to leave the office before midnight, let alone be available for the overnight shift. He remembered seeing his former assistant collapse from overwork in his previous life, and he had no intention of ending up the same way. To escape this fate, MC went to the head of the finance pavilion and argued that he had only started training 2 days ago. He said he wanted to learn the standard duties like the other staff. Moreover, the assistant to the chief of internal affairs was not normally assigned to overnight shifts, so he claimed he couldn't take that responsibility. Yusoake calmly responded that he understood MC's reasoning. Then he added that in that case, MC would simply have to handle both regular and overnight duties. MC was stunned. Before he could protest, he attempted to run away, but members of the Silver Wind Squad caught him and dragged him back. 3 days later, MC was officially assigned an overnight shift. That night, MC realized that it was the exact date the fire incident had occurred in his previous life. He remembered that Yeo Chang-gue had been on duty when the incident happened. The issue was that he had been overworked to the point of collapse from constant, intense labor. MC thought that once this incident was over, he had to escape this post no matter what, before he ended up like that crazy woman from the finance pavilion. He called out to Yeo Chang-gue and said he was counting on him for the overnight shift. Yeo responded by offering MC a cup of tea before they began working. MC asked if Yeo didn't need any himself, but Yeo replied that he was fine. While they were working, MC asked if Yeo had anything he wanted to say to him. Yeo looked confused and said he didn't know what MC meant. After a short while, Yeo excused himself, saying he needed to go on his rounds. MC asked if he would be going alone, and Yeo confirmed, saying he thought that would be for the best. Left alone, MC called Eunhae and asked her to drink some tea with him. She came down, drank the tea in one gulp, and immediately fell asleep. MC commented to himself that, as expected, the tea had sleeping medicine in it. He too wanted to sleep, but it was time for his patrol. He had to catch the arsonist before the fire incident could take place again. In a dark, shadowy room, a man was splashing oil everywhere, his face twisted into a sinister smile. As he prepared to ignite the fire, MC suddenly appeared behind him and remarked that he seemed unusually excited. The man, Ah-sung, turned around in shock, only to realize that MC had already snatched the igniter from his hand. MC casually commented that the oil was burning quite well and observed that Ah-sung had prepared thoroughly. Startled, Ah-sung demanded to know how MC had figured it out. MC asked if he would believe him if he said he had seen it from the future. Ah-sung scoffed, saying he had no intention of telling him the truth anyway. MC replied that it didn't really matter, what mattered was that he had caught him trying to set the place on fire. Ah-sung laughed bitterly and admitted the rumors about MC's keen perception weren't exaggerated. Then, pulling a knife from his sleeve, he asked if MC had come alone. MC calmly answered that, at the moment, yes, he was alone. Hearing that, Ah-sung grew enraged and charged at him with the knife. Earlier that night, Ah-sung had been patrolling a dark hallway, reflecting on his recent conversation with MC. MC had asked him if there was something he wanted to say. After a moment of hesitation, Ah-sung had confessed his amazement. He wanted to know how MC had managed to get documents approved by the Chief of Internal Affairs on only his second day of training. He himself had worked at the finance pavilion for over 3 years and had never succeeded in doing that. He demanded to know what sort of sorcery MC had used. MC laughed and asked if that was why Ah-sung had been acting so stiff around him. Ah-sung denied it, asking when he had ever been stiff. MC replied that there was nothing particularly special about him. He explained that he not only tried to complete the tasks assigned to him but also considered the intention behind the instructions from the chief. If one got caught up in just the formalities of work, they would end up working just for the sake of it. That was something his father had taught him. Ah-sung admitted that what MC said was frustrating, but also humbling. MC told him that emotions like that could also serve as fuel for personal growth, another lesson he had learned from his father. After that, Ah-sung had said he was going to continue his patrol. MC, concerned, asked if he could handle it alone. Ah-sung replied that it would be best if he did. While inspecting the goods in the tonic room during his patrol, Ah-sung had noticed something troubling. Back in the present, Ah-sung repeatedly tried to stab MC, but none of his attacks landed, not even a light scratch. MC told him that ever since his duel with Eunhae, fighting someone like him felt far too easy. He used the bamboo strike technique from the 12 forms of the snow dragon. Ah-sung, stunned by MC's speed and power, wondered what was happening. Wasn't MC supposed to be greatly ill, even close to death? As he was beaten back, Ah-sung's thoughts grew hazy. He couldn't believe what he was experiencing, it felt like a dream. Just a few days earlier, he had gambled away all of his savings in a desperate game of mahjong. When he lost, he accused the house of cheating, only to be thrown out. At that moment, he had reflected bitterly that his entire life had become as worthless as a single tile. Afterward, a mysterious man had mocked him for his pitiful state. Ah-sung had fallen to his knees and begged the man for help, insisting that he was part of the prestigious Eunhae merchant group. The man, unfazed, said he already knew that Ah-sung worked in the group's finance pavilion. That was exactly why he was offering him a deal, to work with him. Now, in the present, Ah-sung was overwhelmed with despair. Everything seemed meaningless. He closed his eyes, ready to give up. But MC struck him across the face, snapping him back to consciousness. He told Ah-sung that he wasn't human anymore, not until he spoke only the truth. If he understood, MC demanded that he answer. Around 4 to 5 a.m., the main character gathered everyone in front of the finance pavilion. He informed them that he had just caught a man attempting to set the finance pavilion on fire and confirmed that the act was orchestrated by the Lotus Courtesan House. The water wheel of the leader of the Breeze Pavilion had been instrumental in extracting a confession from the culprit, who was begging to be killed. MC's father asked if he was certain the Lotus Courtesan house was behind it. MC replied that he was sure and admitted he felt deeply betrayed. The Lotus Courtesan house was one of the 5 greatest escort pavilions in Hubei, and the merchant group had been working with them for a long time. Jeek Byonkal, leader of the Breeze Pavilion, commented that the Lotus Courtesan house owed a considerable sum to the Eunhae merchant group. He believed they were attempting to erase any record of the debt by setting the finance pavilion ablaze. Yun Dami, chief of the Sunset Pavilion, remarked that if the arson had succeeded, it would have been nearly impossible to identify the perpetrator. Go Ilpyeong, leader of the Silver Wind Squad and the External Affairs Division, expressed relief that the incident had been prevented. Everyone began to praise the MC, acknowledging that if not for his intervention, they would never have uncovered the culprit. However, MC told them to stop, insisting that they needed to discuss countermeasures instead. The head of External Affairs thought MC might take the opportunity to show off, while the Breeze Pavilion leader was amused to see him transition so quickly to addressing the serious matter. The Sunset Pavilion head was shocked at how calm MC remained despite the gravity of the situation, and they all came to a common agreement: MC was truly talented. Then, the chief of the Finance Pavilion asked MC to bring Ah Sung down from the tree. MC was surprised to hear the usually stern chief make such a comment. The chief asked if Ah Sung was awake, and when Ah Sung thanked him, the chief responded that if he was awake, then he was also ready for a beating, and began hitting him for disturbing his sleep. During the meeting, MC proposed setting the Finance Pavilion on fire. Everyone was dumbfounded by the suggestion, and the Finance Pavilion chief was furious. However, the head of the Eunhae merchant group told the others to let MC finish explaining. The Sunset Pavilion leader asked if MC was suggesting they hide the truth with a lie. MC confirmed that he was. He explained that they should cover up the incident with a staged fire so that the Lotus Courtesan house would believe their plan had succeeded, thereby exposing their true intentions. Eventually, everyone agreed to the plan, and they burned down the Finance Pavilion. All the important documents and the Eunhae were stored safely beforehand. MC reflected that the fire resembled the one from his past life, but this time, things were different. Though the chief of internal affairs would have to work much harder for a while, it was necessary. MC asked Ah Sung when the Lotus Courtesan house's debt was due, and Ah Sung told him it was next month, on Buddha's birthday. MC decided they would wait until then. 1 month later, at the Lotus Courtesan house, people were discussing the fire incident at the Eunhae merchant group. They believed they no longer had to pay the debt, thinking the documents had been destroyed in the fire. Seo Suchong, the manager of the Lotus Courtesan house, thought to himself that trust was the cornerstone of business and that the destruction of the documents didn't absolve them of their debt. He decided he needed to discuss the matter with the current housemaster. Upon entering the hall, Seo Suchong was horrified by the scene. A man mocked him, asking if he had never seen a woman's body before. Seo Suchong accused the man of laying hands on the entertainers again, which had been forbidden by the former housemaster. Baek Bok, the current housemaster, warned him not to speak so carelessly unless he wanted to die. Seo Suchong silently thought Baek Bok was a scumbag and that nothing good would come from continuing the conversation. Nevertheless, he asked why Baek Bok hadn't paid the outstanding debt to the Eunhae merchant group, especially since the destruction of the documents didn't erase their responsibility as longtime business partners. Baek Bok dismissively replied that the due date had already passed, and if anyone found out, it would become problematic. Seo Suchong protested that the former housemaster would never have acted this way. Enraged, Baek Bok struck him on the head with a bottle, kicked him, and reminded him that he, not his father, was now the housemaster. He ordered Seo Suchong to get out of his sight. Baek Bok then turned to the crying woman beside him and said that once this matter was dealt with, they would turn their attention to the Daeun merchant group. Although their requests were sometimes bothersome, they were one of the 3 greatest merchant groups and a direct affiliate of the Murim alliance. If he could resolve this issue successfully, he believed people would stop comparing him to his father. Furthermore, they could sever ties with the Eunhae merchant group entirely. Just as Baek Bok was deep in thought, someone rushed in to report that the Eunhae merchant group had arrived with guards to collect the debt. Baek Bok was shocked and asked why they had come so suddenly. Outside, MC and the others stood in front of the Lotus Courtesan house. MC's father noted that no one was guarding the gate, and they had entered without resistance. MC assumed that the house had failed to pay their guards, just as they had failed to pay their business partners. He instructed everyone to go inside with him, saying they were there to collect what was owed. As the group advanced, MC walked ahead while singing. Eunhae, watching him, wondered why MC was in such a cheerful mood. Without hesitation, MC kicked open the door and loudly demanded his money. The people behind him were left stunned by his bluntness. Baek Bok looked up and asked who he was. MC glanced around and saw several women lying on the ground. He immediately ordered his bodyguards to escort them out. Then, turning to Baek Bok, he said that he had thought Baek Bok was at least someone who repaid his debts, but instead, he turned out to be a hopeless, good-for-nothing scumbag. He added that if Baek Bok's father could see him now, he would be deeply disappointed. Baek Bok, enraged by the insult, grabbed his sword and walked toward MC, pressing the blade against his neck. Seeing this, the leader of the Silver Wind Squad instinctively drew his sword, but MC's father stopped him. MC addressed Baek Bok directly, saying that if he had already drawn his sword, then he should either strike or step aside. Did he expect MC to call him over? Angered further, Baek Bok attacked MC, but his strike was easily nullified. Frustrated that his attack didn't land, he tried again, but MC deflected him once more, pushing him back effortlessly. Baek Bok was shocked. He had heard that the second son of the Eunhae merchant group was a first-rate martial artist, but there had been no such rumors about the MC. MC then charged at him, declaring that someone like him deserved a beating. Baek Bok swung his sword again, trying to land a hit, but MC suddenly vanished before his eyes and struck him on the back of the head from behind, knocking him unconscious. As Baek Bok collapsed, MC mocked him, asking if his head was hollow since it made a ringing sound when struck. A while later, Eunhae asked if Baek Bok was dead. MC replied that he hadn't hit him that hard. Eunhae tried to wake him, but Baek Bok remained unconscious. However, the moment the chief of the finance pavilion approached, Baek Bok immediately regained consciousness at the sight of his face. MC addressed Baek Bok again, stating that this wasn't the first or second time he had delayed payments. He reminded him that the Eunhae merchant group had tolerated these delays for an entire year out of respect for the former housemaster. Baek Bok denied having missed any payments, but MC threw down documents of all their past transactions from the entire year, proving that not a single penny had been paid. According to the contract, this meant that the ownership of the Lotus Courtesan house now legally belonged to the Eunhae merchant group. Baek Bok scoffed at the documents, claiming he didn't believe in such papers and suggesting they were forged. He accused them of trying to extort money without evidence, pointing out that their finance pavilion had recently burned down. In response, MC presented aged documents with seals that proved their authenticity. Baek Bok's face turned pale as he stared at them. He couldn't understand how this was possible. He had been told by the Daeun merchant group that the job was done and all documents had burned. Had they lied to him? MC taunted him, asking if his brain was still functioning, since he could practically hear his thoughts. He scolded Baek Bok, saying that if he had simply run the courtesan house properly, he could have lived comfortably. But because of his shady dealings, he had brought this ruin upon himself. At that moment, a man stepped forward and told MC that he had something to say. He introduced himself as Seo Soo-chang, the chief manager of the Lotus Courtesan house. MC recognized the name and recalled that this was the man who had turned a failing establishment into one of the top 3 courtesan houses in Hubei. Seeing him, MC greeted him politely. Seo Soo-chang explained that he possessed the account book of the Lotus Courtesan house and directed MC to open the 7th page, where he had discovered information about a new branch location. Before he could say more, Baek Bok threatened to kill him if he spoke any further. Eunhae immediately placed his sword at Seo Soo-chang's neck, causing him to fall silent. Seo Soo-chang asked MC if he could speak to Baek Bok for a moment. He told him to stop resisting, saying it was all over now. Baek Bok had already crossed the line. As Seo Soo-chang looked at him, he reflected on how Baek Bok had only ever possessed average ability compared to the previous housemaster. Because of that, he was constantly criticized and endlessly compared to his father. Even the smallest mistakes were treated as major flaws. Perhaps, Seo Suchong thought, that was why Baek Bok had ended up so twisted. He told Baek Bok that despite knowing he couldn't fill his father's shoes, he had spent all his time and effort trying to live up to the former housemaster. Now, however, he would have to face the consequences of his own actions. He then turned to MC and told him to inspect the area he had previously mentioned. MC thanked him and considered that Seo Suchong must have had his own difficult circumstances. Regardless, things had now been resolved. As he had suspected, Baek Bok had been involved in corrupt activities. MC had discovered that Baek Bok was running an illegal gambling den, which explained the mess in the brothel and the delayed payments to the Eunhae merchant group. MC's father asked if he had found anything. MC confirmed that he had. He had discovered a leak in the funds. His father praised him for doing a good job. MC told him there was still a suspicious part he wanted to show him. But his father said that while he initially believed the rumors were false, it was now clear that the Daeunun merchant group had been the mastermind behind everything. Later, MC, Eunhae, and Seo Suchong headed toward another location. MC was deep in thought, wondering about the Daeunun merchant group's connection to the Whitehaven merchant group, which was directly under the Murim alliance. He questioned internally what the Murim alliance could be planning this time. Eunhae called out to him, asking what he was thinking about so deeply that he hadn't responded to any of her calls. She also asked why they were heading to the pavilion and told him he should explain, maybe she could help. MC admitted that he wasn't sure himself. At that moment, Seo Suchong showed MC the pavilion that Baek Bok had been constructing. MC noted that although it appeared to be an ordinary pavilion, the air around it was unusually cold. He asked Eunhae if she noticed anything suspicious. She said she didn't see anyone around. Seo Suchong explained that no one was there because there had been an order prohibiting entry until the next day. However, he admitted that he had sensed something near the area earlier. MC and Eunhae drew their swords and instructed Seo Suchong to stay behind them. MC called out, telling the hidden presence to reveal themselves. A woman dressed in black emerged. MC demanded that she identify herself, but she remained silent and drew her sword in response. Seeing this, MC instructed Eunhae to protect Seo Suchong. The woman charged at MC, who noted that she was incredibly fast. He barely managed to dodge her attacks. She struck repeatedly with impressive speed and strength. MC realized that despite her light movements, her sword strikes carried great power. She was clearly a martial arts master. He was briefly distracted by the scent of orchids, allowing the woman a chance to press her attack. Eunhae stepped in to help block the blow. Using that moment, the woman dashed to the pavilion's door and escaped. As she fled, she threw a small object into the pavilion. MC shouted for everyone to get down, thinking it was a fire bomb. But when it exploded, there was no damage, only smoke filled the room. MC realized then that it had been a smoke bomb. Her only goal had been to escape. If she had fought with full strength, they could have been in serious danger. Seo Suchong then showed MC a hidden door leading to the main building of the Lotus Courtesan House. MC was surprised to discover an underground tunnel concealed beneath the floor and noted that it was highly unusual. He instructed Eunhae to guard the entrance and thought to himself that the masked woman must have had some connection to this hidden passage. When MC opened the door, he was stunned. What he saw confirmed that his father had been right. Engraved on the structure was the crest of the Daeunun merchant group. At the main estate of the Eunhae Merchant Guild, the head of the guild addressed the gathered members and revealed that the MC had discovered an underground tunnel connecting the estate to the Lotus Courtesan House. Additionally, he announced that the insignia of the Daeunun merchant group had been found there. Upon hearing this, the chief of the finance pavilion suggested selling the Lotus Courtesan House if it was causing too much trouble. However, the MC firmly opposed the idea. He explained that the Lotus Courtesan House was one of the 5 major courtesan establishments in the Hubei province. It was frequently visited by wealthy elites and high-ranking officials, making it a valuable place for forming connections and gaining their favor. He pointed out that it also served as a source of high-quality information and a platform for promoting their merchandise. Furthermore, if the current chief manager were retained, they wouldn't even need to put much effort into managing the establishment, making it a net gain for the guild. The chief of the finance pavilion agreed with the MC's reasoning. He also mentioned that he was quite fond of Mr. Seo Suchong, who had proven himself to be highly capable, and expressed his desire to bring him over to his side. The MC supported this idea. As a reward for his accomplishments, the head of the house granted the MC a vacation. Upon hearing this, Chief Yu's eyes widened in surprise, and he urged the MC to refuse the offer. However, his father overruled him, telling that he will handle Chief Yu. While walking down the hallway, the MC reflected on the past. He recalled that, in his previous life, the nobles of Hubei had supported the Murim Alliance and the White Haven Merchant Group because they had been secretly recruited at the hidden location he had just uncovered. But now, that place belonged to his family, which meant the situation had completely changed. He thought that if he had managed to capture the masked man, he might have uncovered even more. The MC then instructed Eunhae to keep what had happened at the pavilion a secret from his father. He recognized that the masked man was a martial master whose strength far exceeded that of House Master Beck. If they were to confront the Murim Alliance directly, they would likely face even stronger enemies. With that in mind, the MC decided it was time to visit his master from his past life. He asked Eunhae about the date, and when Eunhae answered, the MC shouted that today was the day. In a bamboo forest, the MC, Eunhae, and a physician rushed forward, the MC driven by urgency. He remembered that on this day, in his past life, his master's firstborn son had died in a tragic accident in this very forest. He told Eunhae to look after the physician while he went ahead alone. He recalled that the tragedy occurred while all the adults were away at work. No one could have predicted that the eldest son, while playing in the forest with his younger brother, would fall and be fatally pierced by a bamboo shoot. Soon, the MC heard a faint voice calling for help. A young boy was crying and holding his injured brother, blaming himself for what had happened. The MC approached and reassured the boy, telling him it wasn't his fault. Thanks to his shouting, help had arrived in time. Moments later, Eunhae arrived with the physician, who began treating the wounded boy. The MC was relieved that the injury wasn't fatal. The younger boy clung to him, sobbing. At the Eunhae Merchant Group's medical pavilion, both boys were being treated. The MC reflected that if he had arrived even a little later, the bamboo shoot's penetration wound could have been deadly. He felt a sense of peace, knowing he had altered the future. Perhaps now, he might see his master smile more often. He couldn't imagine the pain of burying one's child, and he was grateful he had prevented it. Just then, a man burst into the room, calling out his son's name. The MC introduced himself as the youngest son of the Eunhae Merchant Group and explained that he had found the boy in the bamboo forest and brought him back. The man thanked him profusely, acknowledging that a disaster had been averted thanks to the MC. However, the MC credited the younger boy, who had stayed by his brother's side and stopped the bleeding, as the true savior. The man was deeply moved and told the MC he didn't know how to repay such kindness. When the MC took his hand, he was struck by an unexpected feeling. He hadn't expected his master to have such a warm side. The man, recognizing something in that moment, told the MC that he wanted to speak with him in private. When the MC asked what it was about, the man replied that this wasn't the right place to discuss it, they needed to be cautious. The matter was related to the MC's physical condition.